Phone? Do
Jewelry.
No jewelry, but wallet. Do you have a wallet?
In the car.
In the car. Okay. So pretend, tell me your name.
Kathy.
Kathy, I'm Lauren. Pretend Kathy has her wallet. She's going to take her ID out of her wallet. Here, I'll get mine. Just for the visual. Here's my wallet. I want you to pretend it's yours.
Okay.
Put it in the bag. Your ID, put that in the bag. I'll see y'all later. Thank you so much.
You didn't get much.
So what was it like? What was that experience like putting all this stuff in a bag? You
Have
didn't,
a loss of control.
loss of control. You didn't know what was happening. Did you know what was going to happen next?
No.
So in a lot of ways, this represents what happens to us as we age. And each of the things in this bag represents something different as we age. So I'm going to give you your phone back. And I'm going to give you your keys back, even though you thought I was going to take them. And I'm going to take these back. And thank you for coming up. Thank you for helping us think about those things. So let's talk about it. What do our keys represent in aging? Somebody said mobility. What else? Independence.
Opening doors.
Opening doors. I like that. How about driving, right? The ability to drive. So in its most concrete form, our keys represent driving, right? Driving is one of the stickiest issues that arises as we age. Knowing when to stop driving, how to talk about and have that conversation. It's often an issue that brings people to CJFS. In the broader sense, though, keys represent our mobility, and our mobility tends to decline as we age. It's a natural process. It's often the thing that holds us back. It takes us longer to do things. We don't feel safe walking on certain terrains, and we lose our stamina. The biggest thing that our keys represent is independence. So our ability to care for ourselves. And this is what most older adults fear the most, losing that ability. At CJFS, we have concrete services like transportation and in-home personal care that assist with these things, but more importantly, our staff provides guidance and understands the resources that are available to provide the best kind of support to preserve dignity and independence. So our cell phone, what does our cell phone represent? Contacts, connection, our ability to communicate. These days especially, our phones are our connection to everything, right? They give us our daily news. They might give us a daily prayer or reminder. On a concrete level, it's how we stay informed, right? And talk to the people in our lives. As we age, declining hearing and vision are common and create barriers to staying connected. We know particularly that people with hearing loss experience greater isolation and loneliness, and they're more prone to cognitive decline as well. As people become less mobile, they leave their homes less, and they're more likely to lose their connections. So let's talk about our wallets, which of course are our finances. Finances, and also, more generally speaking, the resources that are out there. Finances can become a challenge as we age, both the managing of finances and the cost of care. We can't know ahead of time what kind of care we're going to need. So planning is really important. And with anything that we plan, communication is the next step. It's important to understand the cost of care. Most people, when you ask them, more than 90% of people say that they want to age at home for as long as it's safely possible. But 24/7 care at home can cost over $100,000 a year. Many people think that Medicare will cover those costs, or if they go into an assisted living or a nursing home, that those costs will be covered. No, they don't. Medicaid covers nursing care, but before you can qualify, you have to spend down all your assets and financial resources to qualify. So figuring out how you're going to pay for care is really important and something you need to do now while you're able. More broadly, our wallet represents the resources that are out there. Understanding those resources and navigating the systems that we have to be a part of as we age can be very complicated. Some of you who might be on Medicare know that from October 15th until December 7th, which is today, is open enrollment for Medicare. There are few things that are more complicated in life than trying to figure out what is the right Medicare plan for me, and then on top of that, what is the right prescription plan that I should be on? So navigating those things can be quite overwhelming. And then we have our identity. As we age, like in all transitions, our roles change. When we retire, our identity that came from our career, where we spent the better part of the last 50 years, also changes. While we are always a parent to our kids, the way they need us and how our roles how our roles exist within shifts. Our sense of purpose can become vulnerable. In some cases, for those people diagnosed with dementia, we lose our identity altogether. So I do this exercise not to scare you, not to say, oh, this is terrible, but to flex your empathy muscles. Not just your empathy muscles for someone else who's aging, but for ourselves who are aging, for those that we care about. Understanding allows for patience and grace for ourselves and for those we love. It's easy for families who are in the habit of knowing the roles that we play or that mom and dad play. We might lose sight of how aging impacts who they are and what they're experiencing. So now that we've sort of developed a greater appreciation and understanding of the kinds of things we might face as we age, I want to give you a few strategies for addressing some of the major issues. We're going to start with health. We know that it's natural for our health to decline as we age. Aging is a process. We can't stop that process. We're more likely to be diagnosed with chronic diseases. Our vision and hearing, as I mentioned, declines. Essentially, our bodies are, well, older. There are some proactive strategies that research tells us lends themselves to healthy aging. I like to call them the ABCs of healthy aging. And it's never too early or too late to begin to practice them. So A is for activity. Regular exercise, eating right, and getting good sleep have a positive impact on our overall health. We see that in research around all sorts of different issues. And we know that these things reduce our risk of many health issues that are common in aging. The more we move, the more we maintain our ability to move. And the same is true for our minds. B is for brain health. It's important to keep our minds active, and research shows that what's most impactful is to learn new things. So take up a new hobby, learn to play a new instrument, learn to play a new game like mahjong or bridge, something that takes a lot of thought and strategy. And lastly, C is for connection. Maintaining our relationships, socializing, and being in connection with others actually keeps us healthier. So have you ever heard of a superager? Do you know what a superager is? A superager is somebody who is over 80 years old, but whose mind and body is more like that of someone in their 50s or 60s. And they have been doing longevity studies of superagers for many years. And what they have found is that their approaches to things like how they eat and exercise are all different. But the most important thing that they all have in common is their social life. They have rich relationships and they stay socially connected to other people. So C is really an important piece of the ABCs. But superagers are only about 1% of the population that are over 80. For the rest of us, healthcare and managing healthcare is one of the biggest challenges of getting older. So here are a few strategies to help. So the first is seek preventive care. Seeing your primary care doctor every year not only helps with prevention and early detection of problems, but it ensures that you're building relationships with your healthcare providers. Physicians who know who you are more likely to spend time with you during your visits and to notice changes in your health or your behavior. For many older adults, The person who has been their primary care provider their whole life or their whole adult life or the last 20 years that they've lived in Birmingham retires. Then what do? So in those situations, we at CJFS, we often are helping people find new primary care docs. And we really encourage people to look at geriatricians or gerontologists, people who specialize and understand aging. The medicine of aging is different, like Robert, is different than other aging. Understanding how your body changes as you age, how medicines react, how you may have built up a tolerance over the last 25 years is important. It's also important to write out and maintain a list of your medications. So most older adults take 3 or more medications every single day, and oftentimes it's multiple times a day. You've all seen the little pill boxes that you can get at the pharmacy that say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Some of them have morning, noon, and night. Those are great organizers. My husband uses them. He's not an older adult yet, but he's getting close. So those are good. And your pharmacy can also pack into little pouches your pills, also marked with, this is Monday morning pills, this is Tuesday afternoon pills. And it helps us stay on top of them. In an emergency situation, though, or even if you're going to see a new specialist or a physical therapist, having a written down medication list that is reliable and up to date is really helpful. And in an emergency situation, it can be a real lifesaver. You should have that list, and someone who is close to you, who is an emergency contact for you, should also have that list. A lot of people, especially if they live alone, will also put that list up on the refrigerator so that if they have a fall or something happens and they're unable to respond, that list is easily accessible. Today with our phones, it's easy to keep it with you, and it's easy to keep it up. So the last tool that I want to share around healthcare is the 2-minute recap. The average doctor spends about 11.8 minutes with each patient. That's a real statistic from a real study. So to get the most out of your 12 minutes, you need to come prepared. So that's where the 2-minute recap comes in. So you need to write down, what are your symptoms? Ooh, sorry. When did they start? How have they progressed? What were you doing at the time it started? Was it a fall and now your ankle's bothering you? Do you have a cold and your nose is running and it keeps getting worse and worse? What have you done to address the problem already? Are you taking ibuprofen? Have you been elevating or icing your ankle? And what caused you to seek care today? What was the impetus today? Then you also want to write down the questions you have. Being able to explain all this quickly and with detail is going to enable the doctor to quickly assess the situation, ask the questions he or she needs to ask, and then make an accurate diagnosis and get you the care that you need. So one of the most common problems that we face as our health and our mobility change is the risk of falling. And falls are a common cause of physical decline. They can even result in hospitalization, needing more care at home, even death. The number one crisis that we see when we get crisis calls at CJFS is, Mom fell, she broke her hip, she's been in the hospital and then in rehab, and they're sending her home. What do we do? So taking the time to implement small strategies at home for safety go a long way in fall prevention. Here are a few. Improve lighting, especially because our vision has issues, where having better lighting can certainly make a difference. Remove trip hazards like small rugs that can slide out from under you. Remove clutter that you can trip over, and make sure cords aren't running across pathways. We have so many cords today. We plug in our phones and it's going across what is a usual walkway. Install handrails on stairs. Add grab bars in the bathroom so you have something to hold on to for balance and support. Get an emergency response system. For lots of people today, they use their Apple Watch as an emergency response system. Your Apple Watch knows when you fall, and it can call 911. It can talk to you, and it can say, I think you've fallen. And it can call 911 for you if you need it. And if you don't respond, it will call 911 for you. If you hit your head and you're not able to respond, it'll do it. But there are also separate systems that you can get installed in your home, and many of them have GPS and other technology in them, so you can use them both inside your home and outside your home. Finally, take action to improve your balance. So most clubs and gyms have classes in Tai Chi specifically for seniors, or core and strength exercises and classes that help you build your balance. So being intentional about learning to have better balance goes a long way toward fall prevention. So the last thing I'm going to talk about as we're going on this journey in terms of staying independent are our activities of daily living and our instrumental activities of daily living. And I have them listed up here. You don't really need me to go through what each of them is. They're identifiable. But these are all areas of functioning that when you look at and you are looking how somebody who is aging falls across their ability to do that, you can identify the places where they might need assistance. You can also identify where they have strengths. So ADLs refer to the critical and physical and often physical abilities that you need to do to be able to take care of yourself, like eating, bathing, dressing. And IADLs refer to the activities that involve cognitive function and planning. Things like managing your finances, going through your mail and determining what's a bill that needs to be paid and what's junk mail, which is most of it. These are all areas that we want to keep an eye on as we're trying to determine how we're preserving independence and safety. Knowing areas of strength and challenge help you identify needs and put the right resources into place. So now that we've talked about some of the major changes that can occur on the journey, I want to switch gears a bit and talk about goals and priorities. One of the things that we find that families often forget to discuss and define is what really matters to us as we age. Going back to our two constants, we can't stop the aging process and we all age differently. We're going to feel most successful in this stage of life if we know what's important to us and we flex and change as our situation changes, keeping in mind the goals we're working toward. My grandfather lived to be 100 plus 2 days. Up until he was 91, he was able to care for himself. He walked a mile every day, he played golf, he drove, he and his wife went out with friends and family regularly, and at 91, he got an infection in his eye, and it spread to his body, and ultimately he was left blind and with a colostomy bag. Virtually overnight, he went from being fully independent to needing 24/7 care to help change the bag since he couldn't see. After a long stay in the hospital, all he wanted was to go home. He wanted to regain whatever independence that he could, and at the same time, his wife was diagnosed with dementia. So for 4 years, they lived at home with 24/7 care. He was very fortunate to have the financial resources to do that. Then his wife's dementia progressed, and her family decided to move her back up to Boston. My grandfather was left alone. Suddenly, my papi, who was the perfect Texas gentleman, became a curmudgeon. He became argumentative and uncooperative. He would yell at his caregivers. One longtime caregiver even quit. So my mom and my aunt and my uncle hired a replacement. After a few weeks of this, my dad, who was the only outlaw, the others are the in-laws, he's the outlaw, who was still living, went to Houston and said, "What is going on? This is not you. Tell me what's happening." And he said he wanted to go to assisted living. So his kids were shocked. His kids couldn't imagine their dad wanting to go live in community. Couldn't imagine that he wanted to live in a little room where he would go out into some bigger room and he wouldn't have his own privacy to eat his meals. So he moved, but that's what he wanted. And he said he was lonely and he missed being around people. So he moved into this assisted living facility. He even became the mayor of the facility. And the last 5 years of his life were the happiest. So you just don't know what the priorities are, and they may change. You have to keep the conversation going. The aging journey is a partnership, and ideally, you're helping your loved one or you live out your priorities. What makes your quality of life rich? You have to know what those priorities are. And this can only be accomplished with ongoing open communication, and the sooner, the better. For some people, stability is the priority. They see this as staying home in their home that they've lived in for 50 years. For others, it's to be close to family. For some, they don't want to be a burden on family. There are simpler ways to look at this too. What makes for a perfect day? Is it appreciating nature, a good book and a cup of tea, laughter, Alabama football? Take a few minutes and just turn to the person next to you, or you guys are three, so at your table, and talk about what's your perfect day. Go ahead. You need somebody to talk to you. Okay, so what are some of the things you heard or you talked about? Routine. What else? What's your perfect day?
It's got to start with coffee.
Coffee, for sure. A lot of it. Anything else?
Baking.
Baking. Ooh, I like it. I'm coming to your house. Can I move in as I get older? Would that be okay? Anything else? Okay. Going somewhere, being able to get out. Yeah, that's important to most people. So right now you're healthy and you're independent, and these are some of the things that you enjoy the most. So as you're approaching discussing goals and priorities in aging with your family, these are things that you can talk about. So ideally, where do you see yourself living? What matters, what impacts your quality of life? What matters to you now, and what matters to you most? And then what kinds of signs should we look for that it's not safe for you to be alone anymore and you might have to change that living? What? Falling, yeah. Scratches on the car, forgetfulness. And if I start to see those signs, or if your adult child starts to see those signs, what would you want me to do? How would you want me to talk to you about that? Those are all important things to know. These are not one and done conversations. And some of the answers might surprise you. Don't dismiss them. Explore them. As time passes, feelings change, our abilities change. Families need to continue to check in and see if the priorities remain the same. So now we have an empathetic understanding of the experiences of the late stages of life, and we've hopefully will have gotten a clear picture about what's important to us or to our parents as we age. And so we got to prepare to have the conversations about changes when they need to happen. So I want to emphasize that these are deeply emotional moments, buried sometimes in mundane things. So it's not just about driving. It's not just about cleaning up the cluttered house or having help at home. It's weighted down by fear. founded or not, that we're losing our independence, that we're becoming a burden, that we might get sidelined or we're out of control. Sometimes it's as simple as the disbelief that we're not the 25, 50, 70-year-old we used to be. How did that happen? The most effective way to approach these issues then is with clarity of purpose, patience, and compassion, not with a specific outcome in mind. So here are some communication, I got heels on. Some communication strategies to help you as you're approaching these conversations. Open-ended questions is the first. Open-ended questions are designed to open up conversation. Instead of, are you feeling lonely, or other starters that lead to yes and no or one-word answers, start with, tell me more how it feels to live alone after 55 years with mom. Help me understand how having a person help you out a few hours a day feels like losing your independence. Open-ended questions give us information and help us understand. It also forces us to listen and people feel heard. It leads to more knowledge and that helps us to set up some of the next strategies. Validation. So when someone's facing the reality of aging, logic takes a back seat to emotion. And that's okay. We're emotional beings, right? So imagine telling your teenager that they can't take the car out at night. Now imagine telling your 83-year-old mother the same thing. Both are going to argue. Both are going to be indignant. Both are going to feel misunderstood. But for the teenager, independence is just beginning. For the aging parent, independence is slipping away. No wonder it's an emotional-laden conversation. The key is to validate those emotions, even when we can't change the reality. You can say things like, I know this is hard. I know this doesn't seem fair. I know you're used to doing things on your own. You can also say, you have handled so much in your life. This is a new chapter. We're going to navigate it together. Validation doesn't mean surrendering. It just means compassion. Next, we want to make sure we're holding on to those goals. So you've worked hard to understand the priorities and goals around aging, so you need to keep those in the forefront. Usually a parent or an adult child, they ultimately want the same things: safety, stability, comfort, connection, independence. When we stay focused on those goals, we can build collaboration rather than a clash. For example, we both want you to stay at home for as long as possible. Let's figure out what support helps make that possible. We both want you to avoid another fall. What changes feel comfortable to you? We both want peace of mind. How do we create that together? So reframing is another way that's important to have in these conversations. If you're feeling stuck and you're hitting a wall, it's good to take a step back and try a new perspective. So most difficult conversations in aging center around loss, right? You can't live alone anymore. You can't drive anymore. You need help with that. Instead of talking about what can't be, talk about what you want to preserve: independence, dignity, choice, safety, and well-being. Things like, you're not a burden to me. It's my honor and privilege to be here for you during this time, in all the same ways you've been here for me. The last thing is being patient. So let's be honest, these conversations do not go perfectly. There may be tension, there may be silence, there may be tears on both sides. But navigating aging is a process, not an event. It unfolds slowly in layers. So a small maybe today could become a yes a month from now. A gentle conversation now can plant a seed that grows into acceptance later. Patience is how we stay connected through the messy parts. At its core, these conversations are about love. You're here today because you care about your kids. You care about your parents. You care about the people you're taking care of. It's easy to get frustrated and to be afraid, but we have to remember, on both sides, we're acting out of love. So, we've talked about the things that change as we age and the importance of having empathy and understanding for ourselves and for the people we love as the journey unfolds. We've talked about identifying priorities and goals so we can keep them in the forefront during our journey. And we've talked about ways to approach hard conversations. I want to leave you with one more simple nugget. You are not on this journey alone, or you don't have to be. Whether you're aging or you're the caregiver, there's support and guidance out there. Your family, your friends, your community, like here at St. Stephen's, they want to help. And CJFS is here for you too. Our trained staff in our Senior Solutions program specialize in helping people navigate the journey, identify the priorities, and facilitate the hard conversations. Our CARES program, which is just across the street at the Threshold Center, provides a fun and engaging place for people living with dementia to be in community while giving their caregivers a break. We also have 2 caregiver support groups every week, and our therapists in our counseling department specialize in aging issues such as grief and loss and understanding change. Jewish is in our name, but we serve the whole community regardless of faith, with the goal of helping people age in place with dignity and quality of life. So now I want to open up the floor. If you have questions, comments, want to share an experience, I'm happy to hear from you. Anybody? Oh, you guys are so easy. Yes.
Why is it, as the people are aging, that they become so susceptible to the scams that you hear about through the telephone or?
So I will tell you.
We can't give the question.
Oh, sure. The question was, why is it as we age we become more susceptible and vulnerable to scams and fraud? So I'm here to tell you, it's not just people who are getting older, but you're right, they are more susceptible. And that is because oftentimes we are not informed about the tactics that scammers use. So it's very common, and you can imagine, I'll tell you a story that happened to me. and again, I'm 58 years old. I don't put myself in the older adult category. But when somebody calls and says, hey, it's me, your grandchild, and they know the name, right? It's me, Lauren, and I've been arrested, and I need you to help me and get out, and don't tell mom and dad because they're going to get me in trouble. Of course you're going to want to help your grandchild. And you're not really going to think in that moment, wait, is this really my grandchild? What do I need to ask to know? It seems weird, right? Why would I ask my own grandchildren, well, what's your parents' name? How old are you? Where were you born? You know, how do you, it just doesn't seem natural. So the way that scammers have come up with to approach older adults makes them more susceptible. But I will tell you, I was driving home I had gone to a conference in Montgomery. I was driving home by myself. My phone rings, the caller ID flashes up on my little screen, and it says City of Birmingham. Well, I actually had been reaching out to the City of Birmingham trying to make an appointment to meet with my city council person to talk about opportunities for CJFS to partner with them. So I, hit the button, said, answer the phone. And keep in mind, I'm driving, right? I'm on the highway, speakerphone, right? And so I'm screaming so they can hear me. And I'm having trouble understanding the person. And he says, you were supposed to appear in court today for jury duty. And I said, I was? And he said, yeah, oh, not for jury. You got a subpoena. And I said, I was? And he says, yes, it's about case, blah, blah, blah. He rattles off some case. And I said, I don't think I got that subpoena. And he said, well, yes, you did. We have video of you opening your front door and accepting the subpoena from our person. So here I am going, oh my God, how am I not remembering this? And I really thought I had forgotten that it happened, or that maybe my husband opened the door and he didn't tell me about it. That could happen easily, right? And I'm questioning, and I'm having this. I was probably on the phone with the person for I don't know, 10 minutes. And he says, we really need you to come down to the courthouse right now. And I said, well, I'm on the road from Montgomery. I can't be there for at least, 45 minutes. And they're saying, well, you really got to get here quickly. There's some fines you have to pay, and we need your testimony. And I'm really freaking out. And then all of a sudden, like something clicked in my head, and I thought, okay, if they really want me, they're going to call me back or whatever. And I just hung up. And then I called a friend of mine who's an attorney, the kind of attorney that's like, I call them the ambulance chasers. I know that's sort of a little derogatory. And I said, Brett, I left him this long message. Brett, I just got this call from the city, and I'm not sure if it's real or not. They said I had been subpoenaed and that I failed to show up and I was going to be fined. I was like, that's not like me to just forget. Anyway, he texts me back and he says, scam, don't answer the phone again. So it is easy when you're taken off guard to be susceptible. A lot of older adults are using like social media now, right? And so a lot of your information is out there, right? You might have pictures of your grandchild and you might make a post and say, got to spend the afternoon shopping with Susie today. And so a scammer then knows that you have a grandchild named Susie. So it is very important to teach older adults what the common scams are, to never share financial information, banking information. If somebody asks you to go get a gift card, do not go get a gift card. Do not meet somebody to give them money to get somebody else out of jail. Those are the kinds of common scams, and they change all the time. So it's important to stay informed. AARP is a good resource for that. The FBI actually does trainings all the time. The area agencies on aging also have fraud prevention trainings all the time that are free to the community, and you can access those resources pretty easily. Other questions? It's scary. Well, thank you so much for being here today. As Catherine said, there's resources out on the table to tell you more specifically about our programs and services. We'd love to hear from you.
Lauren, thank you very, very, very much, truly. And I appreciate your patience as we did start late. So
No
thank you
problem.
all for being here.
And we ended late, so I'm sorry.
I'm going to go to church. May God bless and keep us all.
Yes.